In this fifth session of week 5, we are talking about seasoned fried chicken, or KFC, the Korean fried chicken. And now, very interestingly, it was probably about last decade that gradually or suddenly South Korean fried chicken gained popularity not only in South Korea but also overseas. And even in New Zealand, now I began to see increasing number of Korean restaurants specializing on Korean fried chicken. And this is a very interesting phenomenon because fried chicken was not Korean food at all. But a lot of foreigners today, under the heavy influence of Hallyu or K-pop or K-drama, they tend to think fried chicken is a Korean food. But for someone like myself who grew up in South Korea more than 30 years ago, it just makes me puzzled. How Korean fried chicken became a Korean food. But anyway, this Korean fried chicken is seasoned with some hot sauce or sour and hot or sweet and hot and so on. And it's a fried chicken. And it's a comfort food for many young Koreans today because it's a very relatively cheaper than any other meat. And also the current style of seasoned and fried chicken developed actually in the late 1980s. And before then, in Korea, the most popular chicken was tongdak. And tongdak is a whole chicken grilled normally in an electrical oven, and which is visible to passers-by. So when you pass in front of the tongdak restaurant, you would see the grilled, chickens grilled in brown color, and they are quite appealing. But unfortunately, this food was not for everyone because in 1960s, 70s, and even early 80s, people were still poor, and you have to wait until a special day when your parents buy the whole tongdak, and it normally came with the pickled radish, which is also sour and sweet and a little bit salty, and it goes so well with the grilled chicken. So that was the predominant form of chicken in South Korea until late 1980s. However, this disappeared by now, and today it is almost impossible to find that kind of old style tongdak restaurant. But instead, so many places rose to sell fried chicken seasoned with some hot sauce. And the time when cooking oil became available for most people in South Korea was only in 1970s. Cooking oil has been always on luxury items throughout Korean history. Even Joseon Dynasty, that cooking oil, Koreans never fried anything with oil. If they did, that was a chon with a little bit of oil and pan-fried. Unlike Japan, where tempura culture developed, and unlike China, where deep frying has been always a major part of Chinese food. But for Koreans, cooking oil was not a daily kind of ingredients and the method of cooking food. Because in Korea, agriculturally, there was not that many plants out of which you can produce oil. And that includes sesame. Well, sesame oil is very fragrant, it has a strong taste, so you don't use it for deep frying. You use it as a seasoning. And the only oil possibly was a soybean oil, but soybean was an important item with which you make a kanjang and doenjang and so on. So you would not use soybean to extract oil too much. But anyway, so 통닭 was a luxury food in Korea until 1980s, and it was only for special occasion for most of the people that time. And the change came from 통닭 to fried chicken. And this change came very quick, sometime in late 1980s and early 1990s. And first of all, for Koreans to consume large amount of chicken, you first need huge compound feed plant. Now they were established only in 1960s. And also cooking oil industry. Now the first Korean cooking oil company was major company, the massive production was 해표 식용유 or 해표 cooking oil, and that company was established only in 1971. And American style fried chicken appeared in the Korean market only in the late 1960s. And that was like a Lim's chicken in 1978, 77, and Lotteria, as I mentioned, but the fried chicken appeared in South Korea market only in 1979. So definitely before the end of 1970s, there was no such thing as a fried chicken in Korea. By the early 1980s, there appeared small fried chicken shops, and KFC, the Kentucky Fried Chicken, arrived in South Korea only in 1984. But most people probably tried and enjoyed Kentucky Fried Chicken by the end of 1980s. And it was in the early 1980s when so-called seasoned fried chicken appeared. This is a South Korean company, Pelicana Chicken, appeared in 1981. And soon, other South Korean companies followed, and with their own recipe, with their own style, with their own seasonings, and like a Mexicana chicken appeared in 1986, and the current style of Korean style seasoned fried chicken, which is served with the sweet and sour pickled radish, as I mentioned, and firmly established in Korean market only in the end of 1960s. So this short time period, until this time, still 통닭, the old style electrical oven-based grilled 통닭 was available, but by late 1980s, 통닭 declined and fried chicken went up. So this is one of the first South Korean company that sold fried chicken, Korean style fried chicken, and that's Pelicana. And here you see very yummy looking fried chicken, and they were definitely much better than Kentucky Fried Chicken from America, because in terms of greasiness, in terms of crispiness, in terms of seasonings, for Koreans, this was much better. And the Pelicana became very popular, gradually popular. And here, their logo shows that since 1982. So that was one of the first fried chicken restaurant in South Korea. Another, the background that how fried chicken became popular among South Koreans were some of the international events. I already mentioned the 1988 Summer Olympic Games hosted in South Korea, and then later, some 14 years later, that 2002 FIFA World Cup, co-hosted both by South Korea and Japan. And this was a huge, it created a festive atmosphere in South Korea, especially after 1997 and 1998, the most difficult time in South Korea's modern history after the Korean War, the economic depression. But by early 2000, South Korean economy already overcome that crisis, and people were craving for some festive mood, and that came with the FIFA World Cup. And that year, miraculously, probably because based on home ground advantage, South Korean team was one of the 4 strongest team in the world. And so in this festive atmosphere, South Koreans would come to streets or gather together in a huge number at a huge stadiums and so on, and they would watch the game together with many TV screens. And in this festive mood, you drink beer and you eat with chicken. So that's how this chimek, the chicken and beer combination, appeared in South Korean diet culinary culture first time. And later, very popular TV drama, Korean drama, My Love from the Star. In this TV drama, the female, the girl, says that a rainy day or gloomy day like this, chimek is the best. And now, because this drama was so popular, particularly in China, and Chinese tourists came to South Korea solely sometimes in search of chimek. One Chinese company, by the way, they brought 3,000 of their employees to South Korea to enjoy chimek, and the South Korean company had to set up 3,000 tables and seats for 3,000 people on the beaches of Han River, and they catered this large number of Chinese visitors. So anyway, so chimek became one of the most iconic word today that represents South Korean fried chicken that goes so well with beer. And in our next session, we will talk about how Korean companies reinvented Western food pizza and shaved ice. And now they are globalizing these 2 items in global market.